All right, on this episode of Bare Knuckle Bowker, very excited to be talking to an individual who has been on quite the run in the world of bare knuckle boxing as of late and recently collecting some hardware at Havoc FC 19 with that second round finish that went down on November 29th over Jason Douglas. And happy to have Taylor Bull on Bare Knuckle Bowker to talk a bit about that today. How's it going there, champ? You having a good day?
Yeah, no, it's going great. A little bit of snow, but enjoying the cold and yeah, taking it easy.
Yeah, and I mean, well-deserved instance of, taking it easy because you've been on quite the campaign, 3-0 in bare knuckle boxing, three finishes now. And as I said, doing it to the scale now where you captured a Canadian bare knuckle boxing title and just what a whirlwind this has been. I mean, you haven't even been in the sport for all that long necessarily. And like I said, three straight finishes. You have a title now. Can you kind of talk about this whole ride in the sport so far?
Well, I've been up to bat for several belts now, right? With a couple of shots at some Canadian boxing hardware, as well as a Mamba belt out west in Vancouver. There's been a couple of times I've had some title shots. Been a main event fighter for some time now, so I'm used to the show. I'm used to the big show. I was used to the pressure with, having the belt on the line. So, this year has been quite a turnaround for my career. Back in June when I got that first win, I was breaking, geez, almost a 7 year was with the pandemic, right? There's the lockdowns, which that shut us down for almost 3 years, 3+ years. But aside from that, I had another couple years there where just been losing, so to say. Right? So I had quite a considerable losing streak. I had some finishes last year that my argument was the refs called them early. They shouldn't have been first round stoppages. The one that I was fighting for the belt, I wasn't really ready to be there. So I think the ref kind of caught that in the look in my eye and maybe thought, all right, I'm calling this off. But as far as the other first round, the ref did what he had to do. I got nothing but love for those guys. They got a tough job. So I don't really make, to get concerned about a early stoppage. I know it's what's done is done. All right, on to the next one. But having that on my record, kind of there were blemishes, right? And so when I went to the tryouts for the BKFC when they were coming to Edmonton for their first show, I went in there and the promoter kind of gave me the nod. But then there was this discussion about my record. They said they love what they see, seeing me train, seeing me spar. They said it looks great, but the record was looking a little bit funny. And so that was on my mind. Um, I knew I know I could take a shot. That's what June was a really big one for me because when I fought Cal hit me really good. He cracked me a really good one, split my eye open, and it was just I enjoyed it because it reminded me, oh yeah, I remember you got to kind of bite down and be ready to get hit, and that's the difference, I guess, about bare knuckle is I'm going in there with a totally different attitude, and it might, it's kind of because I'm used to the thing without gloves. And when I started going pro with MMA and when we put the gloves on originally, it gave me this different feel. And it was like, okay, now I'm out of my element. Now I'm a nobody again and I'm a rookie. Now I got to learn how to fight. And so I've been trying to, take everybody's advice. But when I came back to bare knuckle, I just was like, okay, I know what I'm doing now. I remember what I'm doing. And there was some other things I had to get through as far as self-sabotage. There was some, balance out my mental and emotional state. But having worked on a lot of that in the last 10, 15 years, along with the losses, which I think were, teaching myself to be resilient. So everything, all of that culminating to this time, it was different. I knew this was my belt. I knew this is my time. I knew, so it's like people ask, what did I do different to get here this year? I just stayed consistent. This is the same work I've been putting in over the last 10 years. You know, the, the results weren't showing, but they were building my momentum, my learning, figuring things out. And yeah, this year I kind of got the fight day figured out, my nutrition, fight camp, got all these things dialed in where I don't have to worry about it anymore. Um, and then on top of that, it's bare knuckles, so we're just throwing hands. It's different from MMA where I got to do the grappling and I got to worry about the kicks. We're just throwing hands, man. This is what I do. This is what I've always done, and I'm so excited that I get to. What I see it as is finishing my career off. We're at the tail end as far as I got other things I want to do, but I'm definitely going to push this for see how far I can go with it. We got the light heavyweights fighting this weekend for BKFC, so you better believe I got my eye on that main event. Watching those two guys, I'm already watching Jared Warren there. I'm watching, figuring out my game plan for the one day maybe fight.
I mean, so much I want to, touch on here because you mentioned the anecdote from the BKFC tryouts where they're like, we love what we're seeing from you, but the record isn't necessarily exactly maybe where we want it. But, in saying that, you have gone to fight for BKFC and you secured a victory there. That was one of your three bare knuckle wins, bookended by the two Havoc wins there. And I mean, now you have a championship, so a lot going on. Like, I guess in saying that, has there been any level of dialogue with BKFC about a potential sophomore BKFC fight now that you're a Canadian champion? And like I said, 3-0, three finishes.
Yeah, there's definitely some things, potentials. I have a friend of mine who pretty much it kind of manages our relationship with BKFC between me and BKFC. So he's got a direct line to them. They're talking about asking me what's my passport like. So I just came back from the States, went on a little vacation. So I'm passport ready. I'm ready to go. I was excited when they were asking me a little while ago because they were asking about January, and I know they knew I was fighting in at the end of November there, but they got Knucklemania, so I thought for a moment maybe, right, but I'm not too sure because I think they got that card pretty much stacked. So I'm definitely open to hearing what they have, and like I said, my guy Jeff is in direct contact with them, so if anything comes up, they'll be shooting it my way. I've talked with Havoc about defending, and they said maybe in March. The problem being is I'm actually getting back into school for my I'm halfway through my business diploma, so I got 2 more semesters to lock that down. So I kind of want to get that out of the way. Um, but they said I could maybe do a bare knuckle defense in June, and I said, okay, that's cool. I also kind of leaned in and was like, well, if we can't figure something out, maybe we can see what the heavyweight champ's doing. And I know they got him and Grayson and Rob are fighting in March. So I haven't talked to Havoc about that yet. They just said, well, we'll talk about it soon, right? But I'd definitely be open to fighting the heavyweight champ in June. Two divisions. It's got a nice ring to it. Um, I'm pretty comfortable fighting the big guys. It's different if it was boxing. There's a lot more clinch. There's a lot more to it. But in all honesty, I'm faster and I hit just as hard, if not harder. So I don't have a problem fighting the heavyweights. As far as keeping busy, as far as stuff that's on the table that I've kind of talked about lightly, that's it's looking out to be a nice build up to summer anyway. See what happens throughout the January to May. I do have a boxing match. Looking at boxing at the end of January. So I'm heading to Montreal for a January 30th boxing match. Yeah, I'm looking forward to that too. I mean, I'm. Some guys are saying, well, it's because I'm doing bare knuckle. That's why I'm doing well. But I argue that I did figure out a lot of things that are going to transfer back to my boxing and my MMA. So I'm very interested in dipping back into those sports and kind of I don't know about reigniting those careers, but at least showing a little more. I didn't show much, especially in MMA. I didn't really have much when I was competing heavy. I had no ground game. I had no jujitsu. Nowadays, I've got that. It's a fun thing. I enjoy doing that nowadays. So I look forward to kind of dabbling in those sports, but definitely when it comes to where I'm trying to push my career, bare knuckle, and I mean ideally BKFC, just for the fact that they're world, right? When you look at it, they got the world title, right? That's the world title as far as bare knuckle goes. They're all over the world. They've ranked me worldwide, so I'm number 27 in the world in light heavies, so 185s. So I mean, like, I never thought of myself as a world champ in any of the other sports. I always figured I could sink a Canadian belt in boxing, right? I mean, MMA was a little far stretch, a little bit of stretch, but um, I think I still got some tricks up my sleeve when it comes to MMA. But I never thought of myself as a world champ. But when it comes to BKFC, I mean, or bare knuckle, I uh, I actually starting to feel the momentum and the confidence is super high. So we'll see, I guess, right? I'm game is all.
Well, it seems like you have a multitude of options, like you said. I mean, defending your title, potentially being a two division champion within Havoc, potentially more BKFC, like you talked about the gloved boxing bout. It seems like a great time to be Taylor Bull.
Yeah, yeah, definitely. And I think that's one of the biggest things where I found success this year. As I said, it wasn't much like I did anything different in training. There was actually some, like I said, mental and emotional things, just some therapeutic work that I had to get through my own self sabotage attitude. It was a mentality of before some of the things I went through that I wasn't letting go, and I just really wasn't letting myself win, or it's much deeper than that, a lot of layers, but it's something I've been working on since I've started my career, since I've found you know um, this path. It's allowed me to do a lot of work on myself, and so I this year in particular, I kind of broke through some things in that area of my life, which really just relieved. I just knew, like 2 weeks out of that first fight in June, it was different. I knew things were different. My shoulders felt so light, and I just felt like I was back as far as in my heyday. When I was younger, there was a time where I was unstoppable. Not obviously in a healthy environment, but there was a time where I felt top of the world, and uh, uh, that's kind of how it felt after releasing that I don't know, I call it trauma, but it was just getting through that self sabotage attitude, coming back into the fight. I was able to enjoy it again because for a long time I needed to win. Right? It was like it was a job. Like it wasn't even fun anymore. I had to win in this thing, and so the more I tried, the harder I tried, the harder it got, and the further away it felt. So this year, it really comes back to just having fun and reminding myself that I enjoy this. This is I used to I enjoy doing this, and when I do that and I'm in the ring, I don't know what it is, but I get like in this flow state where I'm just like, and I mean my cousin or my nephews, they say I give the dragon comes out. They say, oh, there's the dragon, and it's usually maybe when I get hit or something, or you can tell when I'm having fun, the smiles there, and it's just I don't know, I just get in there, and sometimes I'm like, man, how did I do that? It's it's just so fun, and it just happens, and I'm yeah, like I said, I know I'm good at this, and I think now I trust myself that I know what I'm doing. So just going in there and having fun allows me to just do what I guess I naturally do, which for a lot of people is an awkward thing. So I'm thinking I'm kind of hard to read, and I mean that works for me.
That must be such a massive thing, and it really does speak volumes to how much, I guess, like emotional balance and, the mental side of the game can really play into one's success. Because, like you'd been saying, there was no difference in your training methodology, but just getting through some of these hurdles really made a world of difference. And I mean, it's such a huge thing when you can figure out, I guess, a lane to guide it towards, because you do seem like a very introspective guy from what I've seen in doing my research on you. Like, I see you're a musician and have a follow-up record on the way and stuff like that. And just speaking to the point of that introspection and stuff like that, it must have been such like a big moment to, I guess, have that introspective kind of mindset guided towards a particular thing. And now it seems like you're seeing that demonstrable success from it.
Yeah, the thing was is right, keep going without the proof that hey, this is working. All I had was my own anecdotal experience, which was I know I'm getting better. There's never been a moment where I'm in the gym and I've like every year I'm getting considerably better, faster, stronger, smarter. I mean, obviously my strength and speed as I get older, that might not be. And I mean, that's no longer my concern because it's all everything I do now is about training smart, fighting smart, I don't want to fight. When it comes to bare knuckle, the goal is not to fight. The goal is to finish and minimize the amount of fight time we even need to go through. So that's kind of the goal there. So far, so good. And I am, I guess, looking for that match that is. I always say the Griffin Bonner match. You know, like the UFC, this epic war. That's kind of, I guess, what I'm looking for in bare knuckle, and I'm gonna just keep doing, you know, keep finishing until I find the fight, so to speak. And nothing against the guys I've finished. It's just, there's a limit to what the body can take, but the mind can, because they were when Jason was, he wanted to fight still, right? He didn't want to quit. He was still wanting the fight, but he started leaking everywhere, and the ref wasn't going to let it happen. So I think I've got something going on as far as that goes. Is breaking the, okay, I'll say breaking the face. I mean, if I don't knock him out, then I think I can break the face, and at which point, I think I got a good thing going on in bare knuckle, and definitely going to push that towards a world title. As far as the other things, I'm interested in doing the other things, but more for just fun. And as much as it's all for fun, there is that aspiration of now that I'm, world ranked, and it's kind of a potential, it's a thing that feels very real for me. So I'm going to push that. I'm going to push that and just keep doing, I guess, what I've been doing, right? Because the goal was to be a Canadian champ. I didn't really look past that, but I see what, who I've become with this way of being, this mentality. I mean, you can't just get somewhere and then, oh, I did it, I'm done, right?
Yeah.
Some people might remember when Tyson Fury came and became the champ, right? He did all his first time up, he got right to the top, but he never really said anything after that. And so afterwards, he kind of went and got into the bottle and got into, he went and fell off considerably to where the sport had to kind of save him to bring him back. In his own story, he was a roller coaster, but he had talked about how he didn't really have a goal after. So he felt, well, what's the point? And so for me, I'm very much aware that, well, I got this thing now. Well, what's next? And so I'm always looking at life after fighting. I think that's one of a downfall of many a fighter, to not transition at a proper time. Right? And I always say, and I don't argue with the refs, who still had those early stoppages. I know they know me from my career. They might have been there when I've been knocked out, and that for some people is a one-way street. But I will maintain that you give the body what it needs and the right rest, it'll do amazing things. And so I've never been cheap on my break after getting, my bell rung. I take my time off. I'm not in a hurry. I'm not fighting against old, time. It's I trust my body to recover. If I give it the right time, it needs to do that. And so I feel I've done that very well. And taking that big shot from Cal back in June, I think I've proven that to myself enough that I'm, as we see with the record and with the work I've been doing, I think I've created or I've tapped into something here where, like I said, I'm really excited to push this, and I'm all about entertainment. I strive to be a good entertaining fighter. I think that's what's kept me in people's thoughts as matchmakers and whatnot, because it's sure not my record, right? And I've been an upset too. So even for guys trying to get ready for big fights, they don't want to bring me in because, well, I might just pull the rug out from under them because I've done that before. So I've kind of fought myself into a predicament where there's no easy fights. But now, heck, I think I'm ready for all those fights. This boxing match I have in January, it's actually against a guy who competed at Paris Olympics. He's 1-0. He's 1-0. And but I would argue that well, if I did my amateur career, I would have been an Olympian too. So it's just a little bit, I'm just it's not even a big thing to me. I'm very excited to try this guy out. So January 30th in Montreal is looking really good fun. Anyway.
Yeah, and that's awesome to see. I mean, you're clearly, brimming with excitement about it. I guess the thing that I was kind of thinking as you were articulating yourself there, I mean, the idea of, or rather the date of June was mentioned a couple times, the bare knuckle debut, and then you mentioned some dialogue about potentially vying for a second title this coming June. I mean, what a whirlwind that would be, right? Like you get into the sport in June of 2024 and two division Canadian champion in June 2025, who also has had a BKFC fight. Like, what are you, I guess, thinking or feeling as I kind of outline the potential for that? Because it seems within your grasp at the very least.
Yeah, yeah, no, and when you say it, there's I'm so comfortable with it because I feel like I'm in the wheelhouse, man. Like I said, I know what I'm doing now, so it's not like oh, I've got to figure something out between then and now. It's no, I just gotta. We have a saying in my culture, it's akamemo. Just keep going, perseverance, right? You just keep going, and so that's kind of been my career, man. Is just keep going, and but now, I'm a force to be reckoned with, and so I'm really looking forward to, like I said, when you say that two division, boy, that's got a real nice ring to it. And I mean, I don't know if I'm being, I guess, too ambitious, over ambitious at all, but I firmly believe I can win that heavyweight belt too. And so, two divisions sounding more and more like something that's a very real reality.
Yeah, I mean, you don't strike me as a guy who's averse to being ambitious, though. Like, just all the different things that I've seen on you and doing my research, like, it seems like you're intrigued by, like stunt work, modeling. I mentioned what you're doing as a musician, and I mean, your vision for a bison ranch and, establishing a TP village on family land. Like, it seems like you always have something on the go and something you're, I guess, really embarking towards. So, yeah, I mean, it seems kind of derivative of how you approach several things, it seems, from what I can tell, at least from like an outsider perspective, I guess.
Yeah, no, this is just how I function, right? Just high functioning individual. I'm a lone wolf, so to speak. A lot of the things I've done, I've just kind of uh, figured it out on the go. Like my youth, my young adulthood, I guess, was pretty rough around the edges. But even back then, I was very um, what I guess you'd perceive to be as a street hustler. We were, I was up to no good, but we were always making financial ends meet. And that, I guess, craftiness, when I kind of went and started to say, well, what can I do? How can I make this good? Right. And I mean, like, the same rules apply. In the streets, it was buy low, sell high. Right. And so when I was to transition and started to consider, I actually stumbled into a workshop. It was a conference put on by an investment corporation, and it was a business plan writing workshop. And so I learned how to approach business in a sense. And so I kind of started to think about it and say, okay, well, this street mentality, this hustler's attitude, And I had a good, I had a good upbringing, but I kind of spit out the silver spoon, so to speak. There was this big rebellion phase. I got into, there was a bunch of racism, and it was a rough time in this small town, Alberta. And I just got this real heavy rebellion phase. And so, but what the transition came when I was considering, okay, well, this buy low, sell high, this idea of business, and what they taught me in this workshop was, get into something that right? Get into something that you like. And so I said, well, I like ice cream. So how do I start selling ice cream? So I went and bought a freezer. I bought 16 tubs of ice cream, a bunch of scoopers, a trailer to sell it out of. I went and did all this and started selling this ice cream at powwows and rodeos and whatnot. And like, and I made this big knot of money off of just ice cream. And I was trying to show my friends, because a lot of our guys were still in the game, still selling drugs and doing the gang thing. And so I was trying to kind of pull guys out of that. And that's been one of my things ever since then, is because I was a bad dude at one time doing harmful things to my community. And so that's a big part of what I strive for nowadays, is helping the kids see things and maybe learn from my mistakes. And so that, that's a big part of it now too. But yeah, that whole, the ambitious thing, it's been like that, man. I have so many business plans from that day forward, from that workshop. I've got stacks of business plans. It's just which one's next. I'm sitting on right now. I have an invention, fitness tool. I've paid about 15 grand for this application for the patent. So I'm waiting, probably be about summertime by the time I hear back for this patent, and I might have an invention I'm going to be bringing to market. So, like, I got all these things kind of just waiting. It's all working towards this. What I say is, I've got maybe $1 million idea that's going to hopefully carry me to, would be I don't know if it might be a stretch, but this idea of $1 billion idea, so it's, that's just kind of how my mind works, I guess. And I'm always thinking like that. And I've got the nation out here as far as this, my reserve. We've got the land and we've got the resources. And I'm always thinking, how can I add value to what's happening out here? So that's a big thing for me, is being a part of the solution, and definitely bringing something to the table. Yeah.
I just see so many parallels between just what you're talking about with like your journey in your upbringing in a general sense. Like you talk about getting up to some rougher activities, but now you're using those experiences to help uplift your community and impart that to others so that maybe they're not in that situation. But it also seems like a very similar learning curve to what you talked about earlier, where it's like, hey, I learned a lot from my losses and MMA and boxing, and now I can, guide it towards this sort of thing. So it seems like very similar mindsets in a certain sense, like learning from some things in your early upbringing and then in the earlier part of your combat sports journey. And now it seems like you're really fostering a lot of positive growth for, the community now and then yourself in your own combat sports career. So yeah, I love that. It seems like a very similar mentality and just like learning curve kind of thing, and then wanting to, give back in a certain sense.
Yeah, there definitely was some overlap. And I mean, like, the early days, um, especially in the fighting, the early days, there was a lot of self doubt, but also just doubt from other people. Like, I, I had come from the street where I was this big tough guy who was in all sense undefeated, so to speak. And then I go into the ring, and I'm starting to deal with real fighters, not just guys at the bar or whatever. But um, so it was a big learning curve of just perseverance, I guess, through the street life. Um, it was a big turnaround about just finding myself, like, and loving people again and loving myself. I think that's been a big part of the whole journey. But back then is when I decided I can't keep hurting people with that lifestyle. And oddly enough, I chose to hurt people in another lifestyle, but in another way, which would be healthy, right? So I often say that I don't think anything else would have done it. I was into hockey. I got drafted junior A. I tried, but when I got drafted, all I wanted to do was fight. So then they, hey, we don't want a fighter. We thought I was a playmaker before I started trying to fight. So they thought, well, I was this guy. I came in, tried to be that guy. Didn't work out. So, nothing else would have done it besides the fighting. And that's kind of why I try to push the fighting locally. Like, it's not a big sport. It's a niche market, right? But I know for the guys that it does work for, it changes their life. And for the guys that, like, for me, I was a big proponent of the chaos, which was really uncontrollable during my time. And this was able to take me out of that. I mean, I was raised, like I said, I had a good upbringing. My dad, my ancestry, we have the hereditary chiefdom of my nation, Louisville tribe. My grandpa, my great grandpa, my Muslims, they're all leaders. And so my dad, raised me like a chief's son, which was very impactful for how I think and how I act and how I move. Um, and so that was a big thing about, I guess, why I do the things I do. The sport in itself became something too, because all of a sudden they're telling me I'm a role model, and I'm like kind of scoffing, going, "Whoa, whoa, whoa. You're only a couple of years into my career, right?" So I'm still, got one foot on the got one foot on the train and one foot on the platform, so to speak, eh? And a couple years in, because when I started my career, it was basically I had just did a big job for these unmentionable individuals. I'd beat up with some people up north, and it was the drug world, the crime stuff, and so I'd just done this thing which was teaching me some lessons, that you can't do bad things and expect good things to happen. And then so when the fight opportunity came on the table, it was like, hey, this is something real, something that I think I would enjoy, something that might be able to take me around the world. And at the same time, I'm doing what I'm good at. And then it was like I had these two options, right? The fork in the road. And yeah, so I jumped, went at the fighting thing, but it took me a while. I had a imposter syndrome for, geez, probably a good 10 years, man. And that long, even longer. I'd say I might even had it right until this year, because that was a big part of me getting out of my own way, of me letting myself win like I deserve to win. A lot of that shame from who I was before, it was lingering, and I yeah, like I said, there was some big breakthroughs back in May, and June just was the culmination, and I guess the start of my tear in bare knuckle, which might even spill over to boxing. I'm going to go shine in January, so we'll see what happens.
No, that's incredible, man. Like I feel like that could even serve as like a great parting thought in and of itself. But I usually like to give my guests the floor in case there's any kind of final thought they were wanting to kind of impart as we're sort of wrapping things up. I really do appreciate you coming on, Bare Knuckle
Yeah,
Bowker.
no,
But yeah,
geez, it's for my thing is always just the perseverance, the akame mok. Akame mok is how it's said in the Cree Plains Cree language. Just about perseverance. It's about keep going. Um, you know, you got to believe in it, right? And there's going to be a lot of people who believe otherwise, and that's very rarely a reflection of you as much as it's a projection of them. And so for me, it was just, keep at it. Keep at it. I always recognize that, there's a point of diminishing return, but in the gym, I've done nothing but improve. So I always say, if I ever come on one of these, these interviews and I'm all punch drunk and whatnot, that I'll recognize when it's time to hang up the gloves. But as it is, I think I'm still sharp as a tack, and ready to bang this year. Looking forward to 2025, to be honest. Like I said, I mean, people are talking about 2024 and saying how what a good year it was. Um, I think the momentum's there. I think this is only going to get more and more exciting. So I look forward to it, and I hope you guys do too.
yeah, it seems like there's so many great things on the horizon and just really appreciate you coming on the show. I feel like I caught you at such a good time in this overall run. And I just love the way you kind of analyze all of this kind of stuff, like life, combat sports, how they intersect, etc. So yeah, it was great having you on, Taylor. Hopefully some more interviews to come. And yeah, thanks for coming on Bare Knuckle Bowker, man. You have a great rest of your day and looking forward to seeing what happens throughout 2025. I mean, obviously that glove boxing bout in January, but seems like a lot of great things are to come. So yeah, thanks so much for the time and have a good rest of your night, man.
Yeah, no, thank you. Much appreciated for having me on, good sir, and hope to speak to you again. Yes.